Hey there, this is Caitlin from Bendy's Books, and I am here today to do some reading sprints. I have been trying to do some more reading sprints because I have been off of work for a while, and I don't usually get to do reading sprints that often. And so I thought it would just be fun to get a few of them going throughout the week. So I'm trying out some different time frames. So I'm doing a couple of these Friday ones just to see how it works. I also have some on Mondays, but I've done the Monday ones pretty regularly as my normal days off are Monday. And so I get like a 9 a.m. sprint going, and that one seems to do pretty well. These Friday ones are kind of a little bit quieter sometimes. That's okay. So, how I usually structure the reading sprints is that I have like a period of time where we chat for a little bit, and then I will set a timer for 15 minutes. We'll read quietly for 15 minutes and then take a little break to chat and talk about the book, what's going on, and anything that pops up in the chat. I don't play like music or anything on my backgrounds because I kind of just like to read quietly. And I really like the method of body doubling. This is like a concept where like you tend to be more productive if someone else is just sitting there doing it with you. And as you can see, I have a very active domino at the moment that is refusing to cooperate. So if you hear squeaking and crying in the background, that's just her being a kitten. She has recently gotten a huge jolt of energy and started getting very curious about exploring, which means that she kind of wants to be like up on my shoulders and crawling around all over the place. And if you're wondering where Luna is, she is across the living room, right over there, having a nap. She is exhausted from all of the crazy kitten energy. So, yeah, let me know in the comments what you're going to be reading for this sprint, and let me show you. I was having a hard time making up my mind for what I wanted to read today, so I have a whole stack of books here. That way, if one of them is not vibing, I have other ones to try. Hi, Domino is much more active now. Yes, she is all of a sudden. I think this is kind of normal. Like once they hit the 4 week area, which is right about where we think that she is, they start to get much more playful. And she's kind of figuring out how to like pounce right now. It's kind of funny because she'll like crouch way, way back into like a corner. Like it's like she thinks she can't see her. And then she's learning to pounce forward, but right now she can only jump about an inch. So it's really cute because like I'll run my hands towards her and stuff, trying to get her to pounce. And she just hasn't quite got the hang of it yet. So in terms of books that I have this book called The Jinn Daughter, which is by Rania Khanna. This is a book that I actually received like 2 months back. The author reached out to me to see if I would be interested in reading it. And I had let her know, hey, I'm probably not going to be able to get to it until June. But if that's okay, then I'd be happy to read it. And she was like, sure, let me send you a copy. I love the cover of this. I think it's so pretty. And this is about a character named Nadine. She's a jinn that's tasked with one job, telling the stories of the dead. She rises every morning to gather pomegranate seeds, the souls of the dead that have fallen during the night. With her daughter Layala at her side, she eats the seeds and tells their stories. Only then can the dead depart pass through. Only then can the departed pass through the final gate of death. But when the seeds stop falling, Nadine knows that something is terribly wrong. So this sounds really interesting to me. This author is of Syrian descent, and I love that this has some Middle Eastern folklore woven in. Some of my other options are Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. This is a horror story with a focus on a trans character. I've heard really mixed reviews. Some people seem to really love this one. Some people seem to not love it as much. I've heard that there's some structurally interesting things within this book. So maybe this one. I have Homesick by Nino Cipri, which is short stories. I think that they are focused on queer relationships or transgender and non-binary characters. And it has an origin story for a superhero team comprised of murdered girls, a house cleaner discovering an impossible ocean in her least favorite client's house, a man haunted by keys that suddenly appear in his throat, and a team of scientists and activists discovering the remains of a long extinct species of intelligent weasels. This one has been compared to Her Body and Other Parties. So I'm really interested in that one. I'm also done with Pachinko. It's taken longer to read it because I've been alternating it with 3 other books. Next up is Shutter, a thriller set in the Navajo Nation in New Mexico. Almost done. Okay, cool. So maybe we're going to work on Pachinko today. I also have What Night Brings by Carla Trujillo. This is a book I was recommended a while back. I was told that this is an LGBTQIA classic. So maybe this one. And if I want something completely different, I have The House is on Fire by Rachel Beanland, which is a historical fiction about a fire. I've heard really good things about this book. So I have quite a bit to choose from. I think I'm going to start with The Gin Daughter and see how I'm vibing with that. And if I feel like I need to change it up, then I will change it up. Got beverages over here. Kitten's finally settling down in the lap. Let's see if I can get a shot of this because she looks really cute. I don't know if you can see her eyes, but she's like staring up. So hopefully she will cooperate and hang out there for a little bit. Luna is knocked out over there, so I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to start setting up my timer here for 15 minutes. So hopefully you have your book picked out. If you're just popping in the chat, please feel free to say hello in the comment or in the chat section there. Let me know what book you're reading, if you have any goals. Hi, Cynthia. I just finished Pachinko last night, part of my buddy read with your mom. I'm now reading an advanced reading copy, The Grays of Truth by Sharon Vertz. That's exciting. How did you find Pachinko? I know that your buddy reading it with her, so you probably don't want to discuss the whole thing. But did you like it? Was it kind of a miss for you? You know, give me a little bit of your thoughts if you can. And The Grays of Truth. I've never heard of that. Sharon Vertz. That's also an author I'm not familiar with. Let's see. All right, so I have a timer set up in a minute for when we are ready to start. You gonna cooperate with me, little one? Alrighty, so I'm gonna set this timer and we can go ahead and get started. So we'll be going for 15 minutes. If you pop in or out, totally no problem at all. Yes, I really liked it. I even started the show on Apple last night. Oh, I didn't even know there was a show. I don't watch a lot of TV, so honestly, I didn't know that that was even adapted. The most recent adaptation I had heard about was A Gentleman in Moscow. I'll have to look for that. I think I have Apple TV. Hey, how's it going? Yes, she is. She's adorable, but she's like a bundle of energy at the moment. She's hitting that 4-week mark where they start to get really curious and want to climb. And also, she's getting really feisty, which it would be fine if we had other kittens because they would play. And then if they played too rough, they would like correct each other. But since she is a solitary kitten, I'm having to do that work myself. So my hands are getting pretty scratched up. I don't know if you could see them because they're pretty small scratches, but she's been clawing and biting, and we keep correcting her, but you know, it takes a little while for them to get it. But she is cute, and the cuteness makes up for some of that. All right, so I'm going to set this first 15-minute timer. Hopefully you have your books, your drinks, your snacks, your fuzzy blankets, cute animals, whatever you need for this reading sprint. And we can go for the first 15 minutes and see what kind of progress we make. All right, 15 minutes is on the clock.
Okay, so we've hit our first 15-minute time. I made it to page 15 in my book. This is an interesting book so far. We have a mother figure who is actually a jinn, and her job is to help souls pass from the world of the living to the land of the dead. And so she eats pomegranate seeds and then she speaks their stories into the air, and that helps them move into the final place that their soul is going. Hey, Margaret, how are you doing today? So that was pretty interesting. She has a daughter who is a teenager and doing teenage things. She seems like a good kid, but she's running around. She's got like a crush, and she's kind of sneaking off, pretending that she is visiting her grandfather so that she can go out and visit this boy that she's into. And her father has passed away, but her mother has refused to eat his pomegranate seed to allow him to pass. So she's kept him kind of in this limbo zone so that he can visit them, even though it prevents him from like fully moving forward. So a lot of setup in the first 15 pages here. I'm not really sure where the plot is going to go exactly yet. I know that there's going to become a problem with the pomegranate seeds and her helping the souls pass forward. Hot out here, 81 for Portland. Just got back from a 4-mile walk, cooling down time.
Oh, I feel you on the heat. It is, I think, 104 degrees today here in Las Vegas. Super dry heat, so it just feels like an oven outside. Um, yeah, and it's only going to get hotter here. I think probably by July we'll be looking at like around 115 degrees for most of the days. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be a really hot, dry summer here. Sometimes we get a really good monsoon season, and that kind of helps balance things out. But so far, it seems like it's just going to be unrelentingly hot. But yeah, I imagine 81 for Portland must be pretty miserable. 74% humidity here, but I'll still take Portland over Vegas. Heat eek. Yeah. So I know that like with the humidity, the temperature feels much hotter than it actually is too, just because you get that like stickiness. So personally, I would rather have the dry heat, but I think anytime that the heat starts to go over, I don't know, like 95 degrees, 100 degrees, it doesn't really matter to me at that point if it's dry or humid. It still feels miserable. Um, Definitely by midsummer out here, you can literally bake cookies or fry eggs in your car. It gets pretty ridiculous. Go climathon. Woo. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, it's brutal. I have a friend who works for the national parks, and she had spent the last couple years working in Death Valley, and they had some record breaking temperature days in Death Valley last summer, I want to say. And so she like put a tray of cookies on the windshield of her car, like, well, not on the windshield, but inside the windshield, like on the panels. And then the glass like amplifies the heat. So I think it took her, I want to say like an hour for the cookies to be baked. Um, and I've seen like videos of people frying eggs and stuff as well. It gets ridiculous. You baking cookies in a car? Yeah, not my preferred method of baking them either, but the dashboard. Yep. Yeah, it's wild to see what people do with the heat sometimes. So if you have been reading for the last sprint, let me know how your book is going, if you've made some progress. Um, Otherwise, just relax, chat for a minute, get up and refresh your drinks if you need. The kitten has fallen asleep finally. She's so funny because she'll get those big bursts of energy and then she just like passes out face down like a little kid that's like mid temper tantrum and then just like stopped. Grays of Truth is inspired by true events set in the 1800s. An elite family in Baltimore. Some members are turning up dead. Jane Grey's husband unexpectedly dies. Now she's ill and her daughter as well. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to check this one out. I hadn't, like I said, when you posted it earlier, I hadn't heard of it before. That does sound really interesting. Is this a big publisher, like an indie read? I didn't read much. I had to look up typhus and if there was treatments in the 1800s. Oh, okay. Always good to like delve down those rabbit holes. I'm like that too. If I'm reading about something and I'm unfamiliar, I like to like go get the background. So I'm on an indie author book here today. Typhus, eek, lots of eeks today. Yeah. Heat, typhus, what next? An indie author. Awesome. Excited to see a couple indie authors getting celebrated and read. Fun fact, typhus is a different disease from typhoid fever. Yes, it is. I've been learning about all sorts of different diseases lately. So my partner, his family lives in Angola, Africa. And this is a country that doesn't necessarily have the same infrastructure that we have here. And so they have a lot of diseases that pop up over there that we don't really get here. His niece just recently had dengue, which is horrific. It is carried by mosquitoes and it causes like this horrible fever and excruciating pain. Luckily, she's recovered well from it. She's young and she's strong, but it's pretty brutal. So when we like talk to his family, it's always kind of nerve-wracking when they're like, oh, someone's sick, because they get sick with stuff that I like have to do Google searches on to like figure out what's going on. Anyways, sorry, my brain goes in weird loops. We're talking about typhus, and then that led me down a different rabbit hole. Dengue fever. Ugh, glad she's gotten over it. Yeah, it's not the first time that she's had it. Unfortunately, it's relatively common over there. I mean, not like super, super common, but it's not uncommon. So I think I will set that next 15-minute timer, and we can do another round of reading or productivity or whatever, you want to use the 15 minutes for. So I think I'm feeling this book so far, so I'm gonna stay with it for another sprint, see where it goes a little bit further in the book. All right, 15 minutes on the clock. See you guys in a few.
Right. So we're at our end of our next 15 minutes, and that timer just scared poor Domino over here. All right. So my book's going pretty well so far. I made it to page 27. So that's like another 13 pages of progress. I'm pleased with that. Let me know in the chat what you're reading, if you've just joined us, how many pages you made, how your book is going so far, anything you feel like sharing. So this book, I'm not sure yet what I feel about it. I really like the concept. I love that there is a Jinn and that she is responsible for helping the souls of the dead pass on. I love like fantasy and stories that incorporate folklore from different parts of the world. So that part is really up my alley. I think that this might be just a little bit disjointed in its storytelling format. I feel like the author is trying to tell like 5 or 6 different stories all at once. And I'm hoping that as the story progresses a little bit, it'll kind of settle down.
because there's a lot of really cool concepts for what's going on. So we have a Jinn woman who had a baby with a regular man, and her daughter is showing some magical powers, nothing like really obvious. The only thing that she can really do is like kind of bring plants back from like if they're looking sort of dead, she can kind of bring the plants back to life. And we also see that the daughter is like sneaking out of the house a lot. And so mom has this like clay sculpture of an eagle that she can bring to life, and then sends the eagle off to follow her daughter. And via this eagle, she finds out that her daughter is also in love with a Jinn, another Jinn. And she's upset about this because she's like, I want a normal life for my child. I don't want her involved with the magical and, all that. So there's just a lot going on. And then there's this other narrative where she's like visiting the underworld to visit her husband who's died. And so there's a lot of threads, and it's not all kind of woven together in a coherent way quite yet. Let's see. I'm wishing mine would go faster. I know the feeling. I've been like through a spate of books lately that I feel like are just kind of plotting, and that could be good in the right story, but I feel like I have a hard time with that sometimes. I'm at 70% on an ebook from the library. Maybe the first time I've done that. 70% ebook from the library. Maybe the first time I've done that. Done like got to the 70% mark on the book, or stopped at 70%. Maybe the Jinn will bring them all together at the end. That would be cool, but I feel like it's gonna have to start to like loop together prior to the ending. Otherwise, it'd be like a whole bunch of short stories that just kind of alternated back and forth. So I'm hoping that it's going to kind of start bringing some of the story pieces together. Hi, just showed up. Can't wait to get some reading in. Hey, thanks for joining. What are you reading today? How's your day going? I only have a few more pages. I'm so glad I finally read Pachinko. What was the other book you recommended that was so similar? Oh, Beasts of a Little Land by Juhea Kim. That is kind of similar. It's not, I won't say that it's like identical, but it's the same time period. It is an epic that kind of scales through like a whole bunch of years. I think it stays in Korea instead of going over to Japan like Pachinko does, but it has to do with the Japanese occupation of Korea and the choices the different characters make. That one is really good. I really like Pachinko as well, but I actually think I might like Beasts of a Little Land better. It's been probably 2 years since I read both of them, so borrowed an ebook. Oh, I see. Okay. I was like, I'm not sure. Pachinko, yay. Yeah, so my mom and Cynthia, who's also in the chat here, we're just buddy reading it. They're both over on Instagram. They have bookish accounts, and so the two of them were buddy reading Pachinko together. I'm reading a book called The Curse of King Midas by Colleen M. Story, a historical fantasy retelling of King Midas. That sounds like fun. King Midas is the king that turns everything gold with his touch, right? If I remember correctly. That one sounds really good. I highly recommend it. If you're talking about Beasts of a Little Land, I keep saying lamb for some reason, but I'm trying to say land. That one's fantastic. If you liked Pachinko, you'll probably like it. Hey, Amy, how's it going today? Made it to chapter 8 of The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. It's light and fun, even lol. Finished a psychological thriller today, so I needed a change. Totally get it. That's why I brought so many books with me, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to be feeling. You know how it is sometimes, like, you know exactly what you want to read. Some days you're like, I'm in a fantasy mood, or, a lit fic mood, or whatever, right? And some days it's like everything either sounds good and you don't know where to start, or nothing sounds good and you're like, I got to sort through a handful of things to try to find the right fit. Oh, I know Colleen. Sorry, but I've never read her books. Hope it's good. Awesome. Let's see. Oh, from the book about King Midas. Okay. That's so cool to know all the different authors and stuff. I wish I knew more authors. Cynthia is the perfect reading buddy. She's a fast reader like me. That, I think, is like the most important thing with a successful buddy read, is finding someone that you kind of read in a similar pace with. I have done quite a few buddy reads now, and I feel like it's hard, like if one person is a much slower reader, because you're like reading portions and then waiting for someone to catch up. I recently did a buddy read with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, which was really nice because he and I read it about the same pace. And I also did a buddy read with Jamie Kate a couple months ago. And same thing, we were kind of right on the same page with our timing. And so that really helps the success of buddy reads, I feel like. Oh, thanks, Rochelle. I agree. Oh, it's good to hear that this buddy read is working out well. I'm starting a buddy read of the Coffin Path this weekend and doing a BR of Homegoing in buddy read of Homegoing in July. Excited for both, very different vibes. Lol. I'm actually reading Homegoing this month. I have it on my TBR for the Read Historical Fiction Readathon 2024 that's being hosted by Shellyish. There was a prompt that was to pick a historical fiction set in a country that's not your own, and that book is set in Ghana. So I was like, oh, perfect, that'll work. It's a book that I've been meaning to read for the longest. So I have actually already read the first chapter, and now I just need to like loop back into it. Yes, that's King Midas, the one who turned everything gold with his touch. Awesome. I feel like there's a lot of really good potentials for stories like that. I think that is such an interesting concept. It could be so tragic. It could be humorous. Like there's a lot you could do with that. You could go in a lot of different directions. Oh, this little one has curled up in a cute way. Let's see if I can get a shot here. She's decided to knock out in my lap and calm down for a little bit. I'm glad because it's just in time for me to like actually do some reading. Hello, looks like some more people are popping in. Feel free to jump in the chat and say hello. Oh, I spoke too soon. Literally, as soon as I put the computer down, she opened her eyes. But it looks like she's going to fall back to sleep. I hope, so I don't get clawed up. She's like insistent about being on my shoulders or like right in my neck. So I feel like my whole chest and my neck is so raw. This is like little kittens. They can't retract their claws quite yet. And so she's just like constantly claws out, like climbing up. Oh, yeah, she knocked back out. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to set up another 15-minute timer. Hopefully I can do another like 12 to 15 pages here is my goal. I'll probably run like 2 to 3 more sprints depending on how everyone's feeling and, if we're all still making progress. And then I got to think about dinner. I also got to run for groceries today. Friday, our grocery store does like quadruple points. So we always try to go on Fridays because gas is like wild. And so we use all those points. All the information that nobody asked for. Sorry. All right. So 15 minutes on the clock. See you in a little bit. She is so tiny. She sits like perfectly in my hand right now, but she's growing fast and soon she won't anymore. Right. We're done with 15 more minutes. I made it to page 43. Hopefully you guys are making good progress too. So in the last handful of pages that I read, the Jinn and her daughter go to meet the sheikh of the area that they're living in, who happens to be the grandfather of the daughter. And now we have another storyline that's being stuck in here. 73%. Meh. It's okay. Progress is progress. I think you said you were at 70% previously. So yeah, that feeling of chaos in this book is kind of continuing a little bit. Every time I go through like 2 or 3 pages, I feel like a new storyline gets brought in, and none of the other storylines have been concluded yet. So it just feels a little, I don't know, like maybe rushed or like it's just overwritten. No worries. So we'll see. You know, again, it's still early days. I haven't even hit the 50-page mark. So it might just be that there's a lot of setup in the beginning. The writing isn't too bad. And the concepts are interesting. Just, I feel like this needed an editor, is really, I guess, where I'm at with it right now. Is I feel like this book was probably self-edited and it maybe needed a solid editor to kind of help the flow of the story. I was trying to Command T, Command F too fast. It happens. You're not even at 50 pages and there are that many threads. Oh boy. Yeah. It's a short book, so it's only like 260 pages. And so I feel like because of that length of the book, she's trying to just jam everything in kind of right at the beginning. I'm hoping like as it continues to progress, it'll settle down a little bit. Or like I said, all the pieces will start to come together. It is a really interesting concept. It's just a lot really fast. I can see how chaotic that would be. Too many things at once. Yeah, it's just like I would have liked to learn more about the Jinn and how she eats these pomegranate seeds to like pass people into the underworld. So like we get a little bit of that and a couple flashes of that, and then we get a couple flashes of her husband who's passed and is like in this intermediary world, like he's in like limbo kind of, because she is protecting his pomegranate seed to keep him from passing on. And so she's visited him twice, and so we've had these little like conversations with him and her, but they're not substantial because she can only visit the underworld for a short period of time. And then we have her daughter sneaking off to meet this Jinn boy that she's in love with. And then we have people in the town that hate her for being a Jinn that have come and tried to attack her and her daughter. And now we have her at the grandfather's house, and we're finding all this backstory about how the grandfather hated her and stole Jinn magic and all this. And it's just, like I said, I'm 43 pages into the book, so that's a lot to happen that quickly. I finished Pachinko and started Shutter. I have to go. The cats want to go outside. Totally fine. So my mom has 2 cats, and they're indoor cats, but my parents, want them to get outside exercise too. So they have them like on a harness and leash, and then they'll like let them roam around the backyard and stuff. And then my mom in the morning has like a baby carriage that she puts the 2 cats in, and she takes the dogs out for a walk and the cats go out for a walk with them. So time for the cats to go out into the backyard. When is the next 2 p.m. reading sprint? I want to add it to my calendar. So I'm going to keep trying to do a Friday reading sprints through the end of June. At the end of June, unfortunately, I have to go back to work, so I won't be able to do 2 p.m. Friday reading sprints after that, but I definitely want to keep them up through June. And then after June, once I get back into my regular work schedule, I'm going to look at a different time in the evenings during the week that might work. But yeah, so you could plan for next Friday if you'd like. And I'm here on Mondays at 9 a.m. as well. I know that doesn't work for some people if you like work outside the house or, have things to do. Totally understandable. I'll start Shutter tonight by Rochelle. Oh, you're reading Shutter too. Are you guys buddy reading that one together as well? Okay, so I think probably I'm going to do like maybe one more sprint. It is about to be 3:15. That seems to work because then I got to get a grocery list and head to the grocery store to get some stuff done before dinner. So, yes, Awesome. Well, I hope that you guys enjoy your buddy read of that, and I look forward to hearing about it later. So I think I'll set up one more reading sprint at 15 minutes, and then that'll be it for this sprint. I think like an hour and a half total for sprint time is usually pretty good. So yeah, if you're just popping in, feel free to say hi. Let me know what you're reading. And I guess since I've already got through this book for the first 3 sprints, I'll hang with it for one more sprint and see how it goes. I'm determined to finish this book because, again, this author sent it to me very nicely, was really considerate about, my inability to read it for a couple months, has been just really, really polite and friendly. And I think it's her debut novel. So I want to get through it and give her, some feedback. But yeah, hopefully, like I said, hopefully that chaotic feeling will kind of settle down as we continue. So let me set up the last 15 minutes and let me move this kitten so I can get comfortable. Sorry to disturb you, little one. Oh, you're stuck. You're stuck on the blanket. Uh-oh, her claw got stuck on the blanket. Sorry, kitten emergency. There we go. All right. You want to go back to sleep or are you awake now? She's like purring, which is my favorite thing. She's like a little motor in my lap right now. All right. Let me adjust. Get that one back. All right. 15 minutes going on the clock. All right. See you guys in 15 minutes. You waking up? All right. So there's the end of that sprint there. Okay, I'm happy because now the narrative in my book is finally starting to settle down just a little bit. And it looks like it's going to head in a clear direction now. So maybe that first like 40 some pages was just a lot of setup. And it seems like now we're finally into the meat of the story. If you just popped in, feel free to say hello in the chat box. Let me know what you're reading. Whatever you feel like you want to say it. Usually chat for a few minutes. So yeah, this one, we finally got to the point where the pomegranate seeds have stopped showing up on the front door of are Jin's house. And the pomegranate seeds, again, are the souls of the dying. And she's saying that it's one thing for there to be a day without seeds, but for there to be multiple days without seeds on her doorstep, it means that something's wrong. And she's also attacked by a ghoul in the night. And apparently ghouls and jinns are enemies. So that was kind of an interesting little segue. I'm curious to see where this is going to go now. Now that the story is finally taking place. And the jinn that her daughter is in love with has also shown up on her doorstep now. So it'll be interesting to see how they're going to like come together. Hey, Michelle, just finished reading Real Americans, Not What You Expected. Okay, but was it not what you expected in a good way or a bad way? Because I have that on my shelf, and I'm really excited about reading it. It looks so pretty and it sounds so good. Was it a good read? So I'm glad that I've made some progress in this book today. I hit 64 pages, just solid. I think it's only 265 pages. So I've got another 200 pages to go. That's not too bad. And it's a small book, so it shouldn't take me very long. Probably finish this in another day. I'm hesitant to answer that. Oh, I'm nervous now. Making me nervous. Is it because you don't want to spoil it, or just because you don't want to like color anyone else's opinion of the book? So it was one of my most anticipated reads for the year, and I'm not too happy. Oh, that's a bummer. That's the worst. I felt that way about Land of Milk and Honey. I read that last month, and I was so excited because it was like supposed to be like an eco-climate literary fiction featuring a chef that is like living in the world where there's like food scarcity, and then she kind of gets like brought up to this rich community and gets to be a chef for them. And I thought it was going to be like this super sharp commentary on like food scarcity and how rich people have access to resources while poor people starve and stuff like that. And it just, I was so disappointed. Reading this book makes me want to go to Singapore. It sounds beautiful. I've heard nothing but amazing things about Singapore. So in 2018, I quit my job to go travel for about a year and a half. And so while I was out traveling, I met lots of other travelers that were doing different circuits, throughout the world. I mostly was in Latin America. So I went through through Mexico, Central America, and South America. And then I jumped over to Europe, did some of Western Europe. But I met several travelers that had been around Asia, as Southeast Asia in particular is a really popular travel destination. And I ran into a handful of people that had gone to Singapore and just like raved about it. Food, the culture, how nice it is, and how easy to travel around it is. I hope to get there someday. I've only so far been to the Philippines and Japan, and I guess Lebanon too counts as Asia. But yeah, anyways, I'm sure that it is beautiful, and like Singaporean food looks amazing too. So I know that I said I was going to only do one more reading sprint, but since more people are popping in, and I think I have time for maybe one more 15, and then I really do have to go because I do have to go get groceries. And since I'm making progress, I feel like I could bang out another 15 pages in this book. So let me just set one more 15-minute timer. How have you done any videos about your travels? Oh, I haven't really. So I try to keep my channel focused on literary stuff. So like if I travel, for example, like I just did this road trip across the Southwest. So I did like some videos on bookstores that I found and little free libraries that I found and stuff. So I'll include some of my travels that way. But as far as just like straight up videos on my travels, I haven't. I did have an Instagram at the time when I was traveling. So somewhere on Instagram, I have an account with pictures and little stories and bits and pieces from my travels. But yeah, it hasn't really been my primary focus. I did do like a video from my trip to Guatemala last year because I went to like Hobbit land in Guatemala. It's called Jovitenango. But yeah, I just, I feel like sometimes, and I found this with my cooking videos too, with my recipe and review videos, the algorithm doesn't know what to do with them because it fits into different subjects. And so it's kind of weird. I saw your review of Land of Milk and Honey and was bummed. Real Americans has a science element and got into ethics a bit. Did not expect that. Okay. Well, I mean, the good news is that maybe this will help me temper my expectations for it because I was also really looking forward to it. And sometimes I have that trouble of like overhyping books in my head. So it's probably better if I go in with like a realistic expectation. I need people to read Real Americans. I need to discuss this book. Um, my mom just read it. So I don't know if you're on Instagram, but my mom is LFL Book Adventures. I think she read it. Hold on, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe she just bought it. I will be reading it pretty soon, though, hopefully, like within the next month or two. I know that you want to discuss it right now, but I know who to come to once I've read it. So, all right, let me set this one last 15-minute timer here. Again, if you're just popping in, feel free to say hello in the chat box. Let us know what you're reading for this last sprint. And I'm going to set 15 minutes. See you in 15. All right, that is the end of the last sprint there. Hopefully you have made some progress. Kitten's starting to wake up. Luna's up. Oz has just got home. And we've got some groceries to do, so no more sprints for today. Got a couple comments. I just read it for a vlog that will probably be posted on Sunday. Now I've ordered dinner and watching baseball. I'm listening to the audiobook for Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Okay, so I definitely have to check out this vlog because I'm very interested to hear like your full thoughts on this book. I hope that dinner is delicious. I hope the baseball game is exciting. And I hope that you enjoy Writers and Lovers. I've heard really good things about that. I have a copy of it on my bookshelf somewhere, but I haven't read it yet. Thank you. This was fun. I got some good reading done. And now I have to take out my 3 dogs. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you, Cynthia. Happy Friday. Appreciate you popping in for some sprints. Glad I caught the last sprint. Have a great weekend. Yes, thank you for popping in. Even, I run these on Monday and Friday. Mondays, I start at 9 a.m., and those will stay consistently because Monday is typically my day off. I'm going to keep doing the Friday afternoon ones through the end of June while I am off of work. And then in July, once I go back to work, I will probably try to find a time in the evening, one day a week, to do some sprints instead. I'm thinking maybe like Thursday evening, like around, I don't know, like 7 or 8 p.m. So I'll figure that out. But, for the meantime, you can always find me Friday afternoons and Monday mornings. And I enjoyed it. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you, Amy, for popping in. I hope everybody has a really good weekend. I have some plans for the weekend. I have a surprise video popping up tomorrow. My book of the month video should be up later tonight. And I have a live stream update of what I've been reading this week on Sunday. So I will see you guys soon. Again, have a good weekend. Lots of happy reading.